All right, everyone, welcome back to the Canadian Real Estate Homefront podcast. We're super excited today because we have our first guest on the show.
Yes, we
Are you
do.
excited for this one?
Thank you, guys.
We've had a lot of people ask us to come on, but this one kind of intrigued us. So,
It did. Well, yeah, that's
yeah.
because it's mainly realtors. But
Yeah.
as soon as you mentioned that you had 82 doors,
I've got 83 doors. Yeah.
sorry, 83 doors.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. That's
Yeah.
almost at the unattainable level.
I know.
I
Yeah.
think after 20, it's like people stop
I-
there.
I think a lot of people,
Bring the mic.
yeah, a lot of people get hung up on the idea that like maybe there's a certain number of mortgages you can get, and then you get
Right.
stuck from there.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to bring partners on or that sort of thing.
Mhm.
That's
That was another thing.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. No joint venture.
no joint
partners.
venture partners.
Oh.
Just me.
Just
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
All right, let's start from the beginning, though. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves because there's a long journey here. So, anyways, your name is Kellan James.
Kellan James.
Kellan James. My bad.
No
You just told me that. And you're from London, Ontario.
Yes.
Okay. And you got started in real estate investing how?
So in 2016, I bought my first duplex
Okay.
in London. It was a house hack, so I'm living in one side, renting the other.
How much you pay
And
for it?
I paid 177,000.
Wow.
And I did 5% down. So I used a CMHC mortgage. So that was like $9,000, right? Or little under $9,000.
Yeah.
And then I was able to live in one side, rent the other, and that other side paid for the mortgages, property taxes, insurance, and I was able to live for free. So that was like a really good head start. I'm now living for free, and I can kind of, and I actually used the home buyers plan to pull out as much money as I could from my RSP and stuff at the time as well. And so I pulled out 25,000 on my RSP, and I only needed 9 of it. And I was able to kind of keep the rest of that and all the other money that I just saved from living super frugally. So I guess if I rewound a little further, I moved to London when I was 22, and I worked 4 years. I sold my car when I moved to London. I walked to work every day. I saved up every penny I could, and and then that's when I got my first duplex. And after that, everything after that's 20% down. But the only way to keep up acquisition momentum is to get your money back out of each deal. And so that's done through the BRRRR strategy. So buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. So it's always about refinancing capital back out. The first one I didn't need to because it was such a small amount out of pocket. And I did a lot of the renos myself to kind of keep very little money in that deal.
Yeah.
And then after that, everything was 20% down.
Are you still a frugal guy today?
You saw what I pulled up
I
in?
did see what you pulled up. That's why I asked that question.
Yeah.
I think you had it.
I named my company after my car because it's just a reminder of my frugal roots.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I still am reasonably frugal. I live in a triplex
Okay.
at this point still. Although just as of yesterday, we got an accepted offer, my fiance and I, on a house for ourselves. We are going to put an Airbnb suite in the basement.
Of course you are. Of course you are. You just can't get away from it.
Funny that you're calling yourself frugal, but you have 83 properties. Because it makes you money and it builds your wealth. But
Yeah.
I have some people that even me doing a fourth and doing a flip, it's like you're so quick to spend money and buy that next property. Like chill out for a bit. So I like that.
Well, I appreciate it. I think it sort of lends well, the frugal mentality lends well to real estate investing because you don't feel guilty spending when what you're spending on is earning you money.
Right.
Mhm.
So I was able to spend on my properties, add value, and I feel good about doing that. It's just it's just investing. So it doesn't feel like I'm spending, right?
Yeah.
But it actually scratches a lot of the itch because you're swiping that card going
Yeah,
often,
yeah.
with all these
Yeah.
renovations and design decisions and stuff like that. So
So you
yeah.
bought the duplex.
Yeah.
You were working a full-time job, I assume?
I worked full time
Yeah.
until So I bought the first duplex while I was working full time. I lived for free now, which was a great head start. And then the second property was 20% down. I actually got it for a really good price as well. I got it for 127,000, which was
Can you imagine these prices?
I know.
yeah.
Yeah.
For lack of a better word, it was a crack house. This place.
Yeah. Okay.
It literally they were dealing drugs out of the building, and luckily I was able to get it vacant on possession because that was a request in my offer, and they accepted. And I actually on the closing day had a vacant duplex, and I did everything I could to keep the renovation costs down. I did a bunch of it myself as well, a lot of the labor and just carrying garbage out of the property and that sort of thing, and did my very best to spend as little as I could on that renovation. So I ended up spending 25,000 to get both units ready to be rentable. And they weren't fancy. We
Mhm.
kept the kitchens, we painted the cabinets, and so I was in for about 150,000, and it refinanced at 250. It reappraised at 250,000. So I was now able to get 80% loan to value on that new valuation, which allowed me to pull all my money out and more. And so now all of my money back ready for the next acquisition, and I had more money. So I was able to continue to kind of apply that strategy. I did have deals along the way where I would leave money in the deal as well, because not every deal is going to be that good.
Right.
But you know, a combination of that, you can do like purchase plus improvements mortgages, other ways to any way you could to get money back out of the deal to keep up acquisition momentum. So I didn't have to bring partners on.
Right.
Right. So like the question that comes up for me is, like, it totally makes sense. I've done that. So I have property where not a cent of my own money is left in it, but I'm still on title, tenants paying down the mortgage. Great.
Yeah.
And use that to
Perfect.
do my next one. So, but at some point, banks primarily are no more. So are you using private lenders or B lenders? Because if you go to the bank and you have 5 houses and they even cash flow, not even
Yeah.
break even, they don't want to see you buy another one if your income doesn't support it. So even though it's kind of an asset, if it's cash flowing, they're still calculating it as debt.
Yeah, exactly. So Scotiabank was the bank that I worked with for my first 10 buildings. So if you work directly with Scotiabank in particular, they have been a fairly investor-friendly bank to work with. You can get up to 10 buildings, and as long as each building is meeting what they would call like the 50% rule. So if you take the total income from the property, divide it by 2, so that's 50%, and then you subtract the property taxes, insurance, and the mortgage payment, or property taxes, mortgage payment, and heat. Sorry, if that number is 0, then the property floats itself.
Okay.
And so they essentially look at it as if that property is handling itself, and you're able to kind of move on to the next one.
So it's a commercial mortgage then on all of your
It's
buildings.
residential.
All of them are
It's
residential?
the same mortgage anyone would get on their single family home.
So they're just willing to work with you, basically.
What's that?
Scotia's just really willing to work with you.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they're willing to work with
Anyone.
They have been willing to work with. I've had a bunch of coaching students that all done exactly the same
And
stuff.
what about your income? Like, because that calculation makes it so that it floats itself essentially.
Yeah.
So you don't need a high income to support the building if it's going to float itself. So
Yeah.
is your income and all of that taken into account as well? Or
Yeah.
no?
So at the peak of my career, I made 80 grand as my salary. So I never made very much at my job, really. Like, all things considered, I worked in the tech world, and most of the time I was making 50, 60, 70, and then towards the end I made 80. But I was able to continue qualifying because if the buildings float themselves, then you're able to continue qualifying as if it's almost as if it's the first property you're buying.
Okay.
And if the properties make money, then it actually helps you qualify. So if the buildings are cash flowing, then your income is now higher. Your debt to income ratios are better, and you're actually able to qualify for more. And especially when you're living for free, they're taking that into account as well.
Right.
So the first 10 I did that way with Scotiabank, using refinances, using purchase plus improvements mortgages, that sort of stuff. After that, I quit my job. So I was 29 and left my job. My girlfriend at the time, now fiance, we traveled for like 3 months around the States. We converted a Sprinter van. We basically just threw a mattress in the back. But
You're that guy on TikTok.
Yeah. But it wasn't a fancy van at all. It was a mattress in the back of a van. Yeah.
It's romantic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was actually we had been dating for less than a year at the time, so that was like a major test of like living in a van together for 3 months, and our wedding's coming up in August, so thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So I quit my job at that point because I'd maxed out Scotia's 10 building limit, and then it was like, well, how am I going to continue from here? Because now B lenders, that sort of stuff, and I found credit unions. So credit unions have been really good. I worked with multiple different credit unions at this point, but every different city is going to offer different credit unions. Like, there's some that work across Ontario, but some that work more locally, and sometimes they're a little more flexible and willing to work. So you now move to like 75% loan to value, so 25% down payments, 25-year amortization, a little bit higher rates, but nothing crazy. And they're able to work still in the 2 to 4 unit space, but I started moving into more apartment buildings at that point. So I picked up mostly 6 units and up after that.
Okay.
Very cool. And then so your down payment came from refinancing.
Always, yeah, refinances. At some point along the line, I did start bringing on private debts. So you can borrow, using unsecured loans on a promissory note, or you can use secured loans or vendor takebacks and all these different strategies. I really didn't dive too deep into much of that. And, to be honest, even when we saw interest rates starting to rise recently, that was when I was like, okay, I saw the writing on the wall, I think a little earlier than some people. And I went, okay, like this doesn't play out well for everyone with rates tripling. Like,
Yeah.
and so I actually sold a couple of buildings. So I got up to, well, so I got to 52 units when I quit my job, or 32 units when I quit my job, and then 52 units when I brought on property management. And then at this point, I have 83 units. Shit,
So at 52, you
Yeah.
were managing everything.
I was still self-managing. I
Yeah.
actually had 32 while self-managing and while working full-time, and then 52 units when I was still self-managing, but I didn't have the job anymore
Okay.
when I was 29. But yeah, I actually lost my train of thought. But yeah, credit unions have been,
Credit unions have been, okay.
what I've been using almost
Right.
exclusively at this
Okay,
point.
so you don't have a job.
Yeah.
You have property managers.
Yeah.
What is a day in your life look like?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because whatever you got, I want it, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Like, I still love the idea of scaling the portfolio. I'm
Right.
doing mentorship, so that keeps me somewhat active, like teaching people just how to do the same thing I do.
Okay, we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Hold
at
that
this
thought.
point, the portfolio is always my main focus because
Okay.
that's where I'm going to make 99% of my wealth.
Your
And,
wealth,
you know,
yeah.
so it's a lot of like staring at spreadsheets and making the highest level decisions I can in my business, which is, I mean, that's the goal. That's what we all want to do, right?
Mhm.
As realtors, like, what is, you know, the
Yeah.
podcast is a really great way to get exposure. All that, like, these are good high level decisions, right?
Right.
And so for me, it's like, can I add a unit to this building? Can I turn this unit over, you know, using cash for keys, maybe pay a tenant to move so that I can increase the rent, you know, based on cap rates, justify a significantly higher reappraisal value on this building. So a lot of the highest level decisions I can in my business,
Right.
restructuring debts, analyzing new acquisition opportunities.
So this is all things that, you know, as a realtor, you can learn over time just based on your experience. So I can talk to it, but then it's something that obviously people come to you because they need coaching. Like all of this experience, is it from doing it, or were you always an analyzer, spreadsheet kind of guy? Because
Yeah, I mean, I did a computer science degree, and I did like I actually was working toward a master's in information systems part time during all of this as well. I actually I was one course away from completing the master's degree, and I took it as a lesson to myself that, well, first off, this is not going to serve me anymore because I had retired at that point. I'd left my job, so I was like, I don't need more credentials in that, in the, you know, so in academia. So I said, well, I took it as a lesson in sunk cost, and the fact that because I'm actually really bad at quitting things, which is sort of the opposite problem as a lot of people have.
Yeah.
And I knew that, like, this isn't serving me anymore, so I'm gonna stop doing this master's degree, and I'm gonna focus on better activities, better uses of my
sounds like
time.
it was a very good decision. What
Yeah.
did you say on the way here?
Oh yeah, we were joking in the car, and
I said-
Brooke was like,
I
I don't
have a degree.
I don't have a degree.
I left university early too when
Yeah.
I got my real estate license, and I said
Awesome.
my Bachelor of Science is not taking me where I project my life to go. And then Cortez, who has a degree, said,
I was like, I'm trying to sell mine. I'm like, you know,
Sell
I
my
bought it for
degree.
$50K. It's lightly used.
"It's lightly
Yeah.
used." That was the best
$500.
part.
$500. I never used it once. Yeah, literally. I got my real estate license right after I finished studying finance and
Yeah,
economics at Western in London. Yeah, I know where you
Yeah.
were. So, do you own everything in London?
Everything's in London.
Okay.
They're all solely owned, no joint venture partners.
Why just London? Is it because you live there and you want to be?
You just know the market.
Honestly, yeah, like it's working, so I tend to just maintain focus. If
Mhm.
something's working, I'm just going to rinse and repeat. I think that, like, very few people are able to understand that once you find something that works, you just find a way to scale it, keep doing it,
Right.
and get better and better at it. So that's been my focus. Is like, my niche has been burring multifamily properties in London. I am willing to expand to other markets at this point, but I'd like to maintain similar areas that still my team could go to.
All right. So, you only invest in London, Ontario. Do
Yeah.
you see a future investing there? I know it's had a huge run
Are you
up.
trying to hit 100? Is that
Yeah.
the goal?
Is London still your
I
spot?
don't have a goal number of units. Or
Are you
anything
done?
like that? I'm keeping an eye on net worth, right? Like,
Yeah.
which is fairly easy when it's basically just keeping an eye on the equity in the buildings. And but I do like, in terms of scaling the portfolio, London still has potential. You need to find the right deals for sure.
Right.
Having the reappraisal values are really high. I think that people need to keep an eye on what things are actually worth and versus just the reappraisal values, because I think there are some investors who are kind of taking on like what I would call ghost equity. Like it's appraising for this much and I'm pulling up this money, but is it worth that much? Like would it sell?
Would it sell for that?
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
because then pulling out that equity,
Yeah.
you owe a certain amount, and then
Yeah.
say something happens, mortgage rates go up, your mortgage is so high, they become negative with the rents,
Mhm.
and now they want to sell, and now they're at a loss.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like during this time, like as of now, all of my buildings except for 2 are still cash flow positive, even with like most of them are like dealing with current interest rates or some degree of current interest rates. You know, they've come to term at different times, but there's a couple that do lose money. One of them was my 24-unit apartment building. And I unfortunately decided to put a variable mortgage on.
Okay.
So that mortgage went up over $8,000 a month. So that of course brought
Yeah.
that into the negative.
Right.
Yeah.
And
As
even
long as they're
though,
balancing out.
yeah, well, it does overall, like things all work out in the portfolio. And you know, the value I'm adding to these buildings is significant, is very significant, right? Every time, you know, just based on cap rates, if you add $200 a month in rental income, at a 5 cap, that adds 48 grand
Right.
in value on the building. So, you know, on that building, I've turned 8 of the 24 units over so far.
Did you purchase it with these tenants in it?
Oh yeah, like
So
most
you're
of the buildings
okay.
I'm buying are like pretty rough to
Okay,
begin
and
with.
then old rents that you
Yes.
want to do cash for keys. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So a lot of budgeting for cash for keys. I think that's the reality of investing in Ontario at this point. I
Mhm.
don't think that's going to
100%.
change.
Yeah.
I know there are people flocking to other markets because they want to deal with more like fewer landlord tenant board issues. But what I found is once you do place new tenants that you've screened,
Yeah.
for the most part, you don't really have many tenant issues that I've found.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is about budgeting cash for keys and then screening tenants properly.
So do you, when you're doing, I guess, started when you're not scaling to these 24-unit buildings. So I do a 1-year fixed always with a B lender usually.
Yep.
It's very easy to get approved with self-employed income. So why I don't do variables because of the fluctuations on a 1-year fixed, because I need to be able to break it. So when people do the longer term fixed mortgages, is that what you do also, the shorter term fixed?
A variety of different, depending on what the credit unions or banks are willing to offer at the time. So
I wanna be able
sometimes
to break it.
like you can break mortgages, you have to pay the
Yeah,
fees.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
a lot of times it's going to be like 3 months interest. Like if it's variable and 3 months interest as well if the rates have been going up.
Yeah.
It's significantly higher if the rates have been going down because it's based on an interest rate
Yeah.
differential. But yeah, a variety. I just did 2 refinances. One of them I did a 1-year fix and one of them I did a 5-year fix. But it's because the 5-year fix they were offering a 5.1% interest rate. I was really happy about, and the other
Mhm.
one they were able to do a 5.85. And I've been doing a 1-year because in a year I might be able to reapproach them with a potential for another refinance because we're in the process of
Right.
turning more units over.
Right.
So yeah,
So the idea of, so my one refinance, when I refinanced it, I'm like, okay, I'm pulling out a lot here.
yeah,
Now let's lock in for 5 years
yeah,
because I'm not touching that on another refinance in
yeah,
a long time. Then the newest one, it's like I could probably, this is a newer property. This is probably still gonna have more. So I'm
yeah.
gonna do a 1 year. So it kind of depends on
Yeah,
the
like, do you
house.
expect to be able to pull more equity out in
Yeah, and that
time? And if so,
determines
kind
your
of line it
term.
up.
Yeah.
And you can kind of line it up as well based on what the rates are off. Like if like the 5.1 I got was significantly lower because I chose the 5-year.
Mhm.
If I was choosing the 1-year, it was like 5.8, right?
Right.
And so I was like, I'll take the lower rate. This is on an 11-unit building. It makes or that was on a 6-unit building. It makes a big difference month to month. So
Totally.
it's all over the place. I shouldn't have done a variable mortgage rate on a 24-unit apartment building.
That makes
That was a
sense.
lesson.
Lesson learned.
I
Lesson
mean, that's a
learned.
lesson forever because a variable, you need some degree of predictability on a building of that size. It's not too crazy to do it on a 1 to 4 unit building, but on something like that, you need some degree of predictability.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I was able to like, luckily on that building, I reapproached the credit union and said, look, I've done everything a competent investor could do with this building. I've turned 8 of the 24 units over. We've done plenty of strategic renovations. Rents are significantly higher than what they were when I bought it. We're in the middle of it still.
Yeah.
We have, I'll probably bring it back to refinance when I've turned half the units over, something like that. But at this time, it's cash flow negative because the rates of, because my mortgage has gone up 8 grand a month. And so I said, for a year, can we convert this to interest only? And I made a pitch and kind of explained it all, and they agreed. So for a year, it switched over to interest only, which brought the cash flow to, the burn rate on this building to a more sustainable
I have
level.
a good question. I keep asking all these questions. They're coming to mind, but
Yeah. Go ahead.
so okay. So when you have multiple properties, that one's like positive, 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 and negative, etc. So it's kind of balancing each other out. When you go for a refinance, for instance, my latest refinance, I pulled out the maximum I could because I was going to do something with this money, but it bumped me into a negative. So some people are saying, okay, I have 400K in equity. I'm going to refinance, but I'm not going to pull all of it because I don't want to bump myself into a negative. Would you rather pull, because it depends on your market value too. Would you rather put every cent, bump yourself into a negative, knowing your cash flow positive is kind of balancing it to take all the money out, or would you rather leave some in and break even on it?
So yeah, so in the more expensive markets like Toronto, and this is going to be like pulling all of the equity that you possibly can out might result in a bit of a problem because the ability to qualify further
Right.
is pretty. But when you're in a market where the rents are like the rent to value of the building ratio is a little more reasonable. Like if you're in say like Chatham, Ontario, or Sudbury or something, you can pull all the money out you want for the most part because the debt to income ratios are still reasonable. The DCR in the building is still reasonable. But if you own a single family home in Toronto and if the ratios are just completely whack, so it's not it's reasonable that the bank would start saying no at that point.
Yeah.
So it's honestly to some degree good that they're keeping us in check because we don't want to over leverage. We want to make sure that the income can support our debts.
Right.
So that's why a lot of people tend to move to markets where the rent to income ratio or the rent to purchase price ratio is a little more sustainable.
Cool.
So for the most part, I do pull out everything I can.
Yeah.
You can do in between strategies like HELOCs and things like that, depending on the type of building. And that way you can kind of use the debt as needed, pay it off, that sort of thing. Yeah. That's how I look at it.
That's cool. I'm like that too. I'm like,
how about
your
fiance, your upcoming wife?
Yep.
Is she in the business with you? Like, what's that relationship?
She has her own separate portfolio. She's got like 18 units of her own.
Okay.
Yeah. So
they're a power couple.
Well, when we started dating, I had already I was just about to quit my job. I had like 32 units. So and she had a few buildings of her own as well. So that was a big part of the reason how we had met was through like a local meetup group that I had started.
Okay.
And through a podcast that I had at the time as well. So and a mutual friend. So yeah, so she has her own portfolio as well. But we're getting married in August, so we're going to be like kind of.
You'll have over 100 units.
Well, that's I was literally thinking about that to drive up. I was like, wait a minute.
That's so cool.
Yeah. That's very cool. Power couple. Yeah. I love it.
It's nice that she can understand what I'm doing. I can understand and help. We can help each other. Like for example, right now, this building that we just got accepted offer on a house for ourselves, and the triplex that we currently live in, I'm looking at maybe adding a fourth unit to the basement. So like I actually made a whole layout plan and then I walked down or she walked down. She's like, why don't we do this instead? Why don't you do this instead? And I was like, actually, that makes way more sense.
Yeah.
That'll save a lot on the reno. I can, have this like common area and like, and so we can help each other out. We can understand the struggles, that sort of stuff. So
amazing.
Do you ever kind of bat heads on what the other one's doing in terms of their preference on
totally
money?
Totally. And that's
as expected.
Yeah. We approach it differently and but it was fine because we had separate portfolios and at this point she only has like one original tenant. All of her units she's turned over at this point. So reasonable tenants across the board and everyone's going to have differences of opinion. That's a big reason why I haven't taken on joint venture partners. I like to have full control over my portfolio and all the decision making.
Yeah.
It's cool that, there's not one equation to become a successful real estate investor. And you can have completely different views, like one more bullish or more bearish, like Cortez and I are, but it's not the recipe.
The most successful joint venture partners and couples that I've seen are pulling in different directions to some degree, but they're aligned at the same time.
Right.
And so like oftentimes you'll have someone that's far more organized and someone that's shooting from the hip a bit more, and those people can help each other out.
Yeah.
And it's good because one person's pushing the person who's overanalyzing, and the other person that's not taking enough action is that's where I've always seen the most successful partnerships.
Okay. Cool.
In every type of partnership.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's the same with relationships. Like same idea. You each have your strengths and perfect. Like I don't need to deal with this and you don't need to deal with this. Like
as long as you respect the other opinion when it comes to you both having to make a decision.
Exactly.
I totally
you talk it out and then you say like, this is your realm of expertise. This is,
Cool.
Tell us about your mentorship program.
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah.
So I've been doing this for some years now. I have like a 6-month mentorship program. I talk with my students once every 2 weeks for an hour. I'm available by text and email in between. And the goal of each call is to determine what the highest and best use of their time is right now. What are the most valuable activities they could work on? and of course answer any questions so that they have no questions. They know exactly what they need to do. And then they just need to go do it.
Right.
And so that's the goal with every call. And then I follow up to make sure those things are done and continue on with the next set of tasks that will head in the right direction based on their goals.
Right.
And then do they go off and, find what it is that they're looking for with, do they come to you with the deal and help me analyze this? Or
my goal, the purpose of this is for me to be an unbiased third party that they can legitimately just take advice from and know that there's no, like, it's they paid the fee. Now it's like, now I can give you exactly what I think is best for you. So, there's some people who are in the deal, like looking for deals on or off market. I can help them analyze deals, negotiations. Once you close on a building, well, for finding the right financing and lenders to work with, the right strategies there, the right strategic renovation plans, the right refinance plans, and like viewing things just like you would hire an accountant to do tax planning, like portfolio planning, and trying to see long term what the goal with all of this is.
Very cool. Very cool. So if someone wanted to join that, they would just check out your Instagram. Is that kind of
Instagram, and my website's kellanjames.ca. My Instagram's Kellan James. So it's all in there. I do I have been doing some group coaching a little more recently as well.
Okay, cool.
So I had like 15 students jump on to like an 8-week course recently, which was cool. So every Tuesday night for 8 weeks. Yeah, thank you.
Very cool. We'll put all that in the description.
Yeah.
Hopefully everybody's at a different level of getting into the investment world.
Almost everyone's got full-time jobs for the most part, or self-employment income of some kind, and they want to build financial freedom so that they can either quit their job or choose to work on what they want to work on.
Cool. That's awesome. That's very cool.
Very cool. We were talking about the ways to build wealth, and we were saying in income in Canada, a salary in Canada is not going to build wealth. It's just you're living on your job income.
Just gets you by.
It just gets you by.
Yeah.
So it's either real estate investing, building a business, or investing in stocks, and that's very volatile. So
well, the challenge with stocks is that you just don't have very much control over what's happening, and the people who are doing very well in stocks in the stock world they have insider knowledge, and they have so there's not a whole lot of control there. Index funds are a great way for people to just save over a long period of time, and that's cool.
Sleep at night, it's easy.
But if you're looking for something that you have some degree of control over, starting a business or getting involved with someone's business,
hard
buying businesses.
So real estate it's one of the easiest ways for somebody that doesn't, I want to build wealth.
It's a lot less. It's so much less complicated than starting a business. I mean, because when I started even my coaching business, which you'd think would be a really simple business, it's getting on a phone with people. It's still like set up, there's a lot of process involved in even the simplest business.
So starting his coaching business is harder than developing your
100%
3 reels.
I have found the coaching business honestly it's not a very good use of my time, but I have a lot of fun with it, and I'm also viewing social media long term as well. So I don't think enough people talk about the 20-year future of their social media following, right? We're probably going to be doing this in 20 years, and what's the most important thing? Well, it's going to be building trust with people so that you continue to grow a core set of followers that trust what you're doing, and so I'm looking at social media over the long term as well. And similar to if you're trying to start investing, the more you can save in the early stages, the more you can start with, which allows you to compound from there. So same with social media. I'm kind of viewing this as a bit of a upfront effort, grow the following so that that can kind of scale over time a little more naturally.
And you get your core followers,
right?
A lot of people like to follow us, but then are not so nice. But then a lot of people are
I think it's
this is valuable.
There's the 1,000 true fans. I think there's something like that.
You could have thick skin for sure.
Kind of the idea.
We laugh about it. Yeah, people make fun of us. We just laugh at it.
Oh yeah. Well, Instagram comments are
oh god,
they are comical though.
It could be the most I saw videos someone painted their weight plates for the gym. I was like, oh, they look super cool. All of the comments are just trashing. It's they painted the plates. They looks great. Leave them alone. Parenting. I'm getting a lot of parenting videos because we'll probably start a family in the next couple of years, and just everyone just disagrees. It's just it's a cesspool.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
It's wild. And it's tough too because sometimes I actually like to read them. I read the comments.
I do.
You don't, but
sometimes I don't need my direct.
Sometimes they change my opinion on things because I'm like, interesting. I didn't think of that. When we were talking about India's economy, a lot of stuff came up about it because we don't actually know, right? We're saying something that we've heard in Canada from somebody that lives there, but then people all across the world are able to see our platform. And
Yeah.
then they're telling it how it really is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I actually like that
Yeah.
aspect.
Well, the
of
fact
it.
that
Yeah.
you're open-minded to it is really great. Yeah.
Oh, and some things will be like, that's an interesting way to think.
There's a
Think
book,
about
Yeah.
it.
there's a book
Yeah.
called, I think it's called The Scout Mentality or something like that. I'm in the middle of right now.
Oh, yeah?
You probably really like it. It's a lot of like, yeah, it's just like setting your ego to the side and going, how can I learn, or how can,
Love
like,
it.
yeah.
I
So
would
that's
like
really good. The
that.
fact that even Instagram comments that you're open-minded to, like,
Seriously.
I am so, what do they call me? Ignorant and
Yeah.
whatever. If I'm so wrong, like, okay, I actually comment, and you should see this in the comments. It's like, okay, like, please, like, enlighten me
Yeah.
from your point
Why
of
do you
view.
think this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I will admit if,
Yeah.
like, okay, I actually see your point and thank you.
Yeah.
So I like that because
Yeah.
everybody right now, social media is just so
Oh, it's brutal.
pulled apart. It's
Yeah.
You
It's
just need to know which comments to ignore, which is a huge
Yeah.
chunk of them. But
Yeah,
when
huge
someone's
chunk.
actually giving some thoughtful feedback, it's like,
Right.
yeah, for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
It can,
I
it can
just
be
put a sad face when they say something really mean. So it's
sad
so
face.
funny. I don't yell back. I literally put a sad.
A sad
You're-
face. I like
You
that.
are.
Yeah.
You're mean. Sad
Yeah.
face. That's what I do.
Do
That's
that.
awesome. All right. So, big question that we always talk about. We talk a lot about economy on
Yeah.
our podcast. And I guess this is very of a blanket statement, but what you're still going to invest in real estate. So, what makes you bullish on the market going forward, and what scares you?
Yeah, I don't view it as, I'm not bullish overall. I'm bullish for the 20-year future of Ontario real estate. Like,
Right.
I do think the 20-year future looks good. I have no idea what the 5-year future looks like at this
Mhm.
point. But I'm focusing on what I have control over. And the reality of it is I want to build a portfolio that I don't need to think about selling or be forced to sell in any times where I don't need to. So the goal is to have cash flow as your holding power for the portfolio.
Right.
So if I have a portfolio that's cash flowing, I can just ride through. Just like if you bought index funds
Yeah.
and the goal is to hold it for 20 years, you ride through the downturns, you don't sell during that time. The way to ride through downturns in real estate is through cash flow.
Right.
So the plan is, I think I'm bullish over the long term, but I have no idea in the short term, and all I can do is focus on what I have control over. So
Yeah.
that's
What was your feeling when the pandemic hit? That
so,
must have been tough. Honestly,
so
that must have been hard.
I did a few things.
Mhm.
I withdrew all of my unsecured lines of credits to the max, and I took the money out and put it to a different bank
Okay.
because there are scenarios in the States where banks were actually pulling, like, they were closing lines of credit, having access to cash during that initial scare was a really important thing. Like, you never know where this goes.
Yeah, very smart. Yeah.
And if you take the money out and put it into a different bank, there's nothing they can do. But they are like, no one knows what banks can do, but they could take money out of your checking account, pay your lines of credit off, and close them on you. So I wanted to make sure. So I did that. Another was, and I still think one of the main concerns that investors need to be aware of, or need to consider for the future, is social uprisings, especially if you're a landlord.
Right.
And so I think people really need to keep an eye on that. So I realized the value of tenant relationships. So I was still self-managing at the time, and looking back, I don't even know for sure if this was an amazing decision or not, but I offered my tenants a 5% discount for like 3 months on the rent, or 5 or 10% discount on the rent for a few months. I was really high cash flow, so I didn't need to worry about it.
Right.
But it was just like a bit of like, no one can work right now. It was this
Yeah.
weird time where CERB hadn't hit yet, and like we didn't have.
I value you being here.
Yeah,
sort
it
of
was
thing.
just like, I understand this is a tough situation.
Yeah.
And I wanted to build a good rapport because who knows where this goes, and I don't want to be in a situation where tenants go, fuck my landlord, I'm not paying him
Right.
rent,
paying
whatever,
him. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So like, try to build some goodwill. So I did that. And I was in the middle of negotiations on a sixplex that I was still conditional on. I decided to walk away from because things were just up in the air, and I really wasn't sure what
It
to
was a
do.
scary time. Yeah. Yeah.
It was,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But then like 6 months later, things were CERB, everything was kind of working out. The market was going up,
Mm.
and I ended up going back to that off-market seller and bought the sixplex anyway for
You
like
bought it anyway.
25 grand more. Yeah.
Yeah.
I paid him a little more, but yeah.
Sorry
it's
about
worked out, yeah.
that. The world kind of shut down. So
Yeah.
what do you want me to do?
Oh,
the fact that
100%.
you were willing to walk away, gather, more information.
I think that, like, regardless of what business you're in, understanding your risk exposure and having, having a situation where I can handle if things get worse, and I'll also be exposed if things get better in a good way, but not to the point where you're just fully exposed so that if things go
Yeah.
bad, you're screwed,
Yeah.
or you're not exposed at all and you're very safe, but you're not taking advantage of
It's hard to find that sweet spot though.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, it
very
is.
hard. That's
Absolutely.
not an easy thing to get to where
Yeah, there's
Retirement.
people I know that are still they're actively acquiring during this time, and I would love to be able to, you know, get the dopamine hits of like new acquisitions and stuff
Yeah.
as well. But during this time, I've been actually just stabilizing for quite a while now. So, and I bought 51 units. I sold some, and then I sold 15 units in 2021, and I bought 51, um, something like that. Anyway, is how it worked out. So those 51 units that I took on, mostly under rented, lots of turnovers required, lots of renovations. So I've been in a stabilization period for a good while now.
Right.
And I'm hoping to enter an acquisition phase again, you know, in like 6 to 8 months, something like that.
Do you use a single realtor in London? And if not,
No.
should we move to London and be
Not anymore.
You could keep us busy all year round.
Yeah.
Literally,
Yeah.
51 acquisitions and
Yeah,
15
just,
Yeah,
sales?
I actually I worked with the listing agent directly on that one, and it was actually a Toronto agent for
Okay.
some of these acquisitions, some of these
Cool.
apartment buildings. You know, hoping to maybe align incentives, even though you know you can't.
Yeah, I know. It kind
Um,
of sucks in the end of the day.
But as an investor, I can do whatever I want. So
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
I don't
true.
have a realtor
You're not
license,
married to
so-
anybody. Yeah. Cool. I was just being facetious.
No, yeah,
yeah.
I don't
So-
work with any
Your
individual.
toes
Like
still look-
Yeah, I'm
probably
just
half
see
my
ya.
portfolio. Probably like half my portfolio was bought off market. So just
Okay.
talking with owners directly,
Networking with right
yeah,
people.
networking.
How
And
do they land in your lap now?
there's a ton of different ways. So like people do a lot of flyering. I've never done any major flyer campaigns. There's door knocking. You can actually call rental ads is one. So like you can keep an eye on like, oh, this 2-bedroom apartment is up for rent. Well, there's the owner's phone number right there, right? You can give them a call and see if they might be open to actually selling the building.
Cool.
You know, there's a ton. There's like I can't even offhand. I can't even think. I did a whole YouTube video on how to find off-market deals.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yeah. Oh, for sale by owner stuff
Everywhere.
for sure.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
The off-market sale properties.
Oh yeah, all that for sure. It's a lot of like filtering at that point. There's a lot of and
Yeah.
if you're trying to sell off market, you get so many tire kickers.
It's even
but,
harder.
Oh my
Um,
God.
yeah.
yes, I
you
know.
can literally like ask your pest control guy or your junk run guy, like whoever, like, you know, hey, do you know anyone that might be open to selling? And like align incentives, offer finder's fees. I've paid a lot of people like $1,000 or $2,500 just to connect me with the owner, and you know, and I'll give them that fee if I end up buying the property.
Mm.
So my contractor knows this. He's actually gotten me a deal. He just saw a for sale by owner sign when he was driving around one time, and yeah, so a lot of just all over the place, talking with everyone,
Yeah.
aligning incentives.
As
What's
many
your
fees
what's
as
your
you can.
why? Why do
Ooh,
this?
I like it.
Yeah, why is it for I want every day to be Sunday, or is it I want to give this to my children one day? What's the why?
Well, so the initial why was quitting the job.
Yeah.
I wasn't particularly pumped about the tech world. So I knew that I didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted financial freedom. So I knew what I was running away from. But then when I did leave the job, it was it's been hard still to gain clarity in what I'm running toward. So it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
I think that like at one point I did start to understand the value like of intentional lifestyle inflation, I suppose is the way to look at it. Because I'm really frugal. I still drive a Hyundai Accent, as you
Yeah.
saw.
With winter tires.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, with like no hubcap.
Love it.
Yeah, so
good.
so yeah, I mean, like, you know, I think that like getting more comfortable with the idea of lifestyle inflation, I think intentionally can be a good thing. I think I will gain more clarity. You know, getting married, having kids, I think will really help me gain some clarity as to why. Because I don't know. At this point, I'm enjoying the process is a big part of it.
Like
Yeah.
that answer. I don't think that people, when you ask them what's your why, and they like know right away what
Yeah.
it is, I think they're just that sounds good to them, so
Yeah.
that becomes their why, right?
think
Especially when the answer is to help people.
Yeah,
I hate
that's-
to call anyone out if anyone said
Oh,
that,
that's
but, like,
every realtor's
as soon as you
thing.
hear that, it's
I
like,
love looking at houses.
This guy.
Oh, it wasn't a 30 grand commission check you made.
No, but my why is because this is what I'm finding in fulfillment today. I don't know necessarily
Yeah.
where it's leading, but I'm on a journey and a process that I'm enjoying, and I'm
Yeah.
fulfilling,
I think it's like trying
challenging.
to set sail in the right direction is kind of the idea. Like you don't know necessarily exactly where you're going, but you kind of know
Yeah.
sort of the direction it feels right. I'm enjoying the process. I mean, I'm enjoying the coaching. I like to teach people the same stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a bunch of students since quit their jobs and they're traveling and stuff too. So that's super cool to see.
Yeah.
That's
So
really cool.
that part's fun. But I love finding deals. I love when deals go well, I mean, I really,
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, any investor that's done some good deals knows what that like dopamine spike is like. You're like, this is awesome. I want to do another,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like, so
Yeah.
it's a lot of that. I mean, I'm legitimately enjoying the process. You know, when rates have been going up, that part, like the opposite, I
Yeah.
guess, like
Yeah.
that's that part sucked, like cash flow plummeting. But
It's going to be a cool moment in history, though, when we think back to what we saw, right? The fastest
Oh,
rate
yeah.
hiking cycle
oh yeah,
in history. Like, it will be cool when we're older.
It'll just be
Yeah.
And we'll be
nice.
able to talk about it
It'll be
back
a
in my
moment.
day kind of people. But
Yeah.
like you said, the process is the cool thing, because I was talking to Brooke about this as we were coming here.
yeah,
And I was just telling her, because we got invited on another podcast, and I was like, I can't believe people want to speak to us.
yeah,
Or like people watch us online. Like, it's crazy. Because I was telling her, like, I still love selling houses and helping people buy, but I'm having honestly more fun in this new chapter that we're going through
yeah.
of building the Instagram. And like, you came from London, Ontario to
Meeting
come talk
people.
to us, meeting people,
Yeah.
having these doors open that
many
that would never be
connections come
opened
through.
ever.
Yeah.
So it is, if you put yourself out there, I think.
I think that like
It's fun.
I used to preach a lot about the idea of being the hub. So like
Yeah.
you guys are a hub, right? You're having, you know, like, well, like at least I've come here to join you guys on
Yeah,
this, maybe other
yeah.
future guests and stuff. But being the hub, like, you know, starting a meetup group, that sort of stuff. Like we used to preach this a lot because there wasn't, like, a lot of cities didn't have meetup groups, and we started one called London on Fire, which was London, Ontario financial independence.
Yeah, fire, yeah. The fire
We had
movement.
like 50 people coming out every month, and it was super cool. Just like telling people about like frugality, index funds, and then real estate investing, and then it turned into just real estate investing. 'cause
Yeah.
everyone was doing
Nobody
really well in
nobody
that
likes
space.
index
Yeah.
funds. Come on.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
in Hamilton, but it's
That's cool.
my buddy's podcast. But it's so
Yeah.
fun. People come from everywhere, and people just want to talk to similar-minded people.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
It's
That's
like
a fun part.
energizing.
Oh,
and
yeah.
everyone is just like from all over the place, and like, this is how many properties I have, and this is what I'm doing, and
Well, it's cool that it's happening in Canada. I don't think I mean, maybe it's because of our age and stuff we didn't see this, but like, I mean, it's neat to see like people in Ontario that have like stories that are worth listening to, that are interesting. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's I like that because you can actually relate when it's like local, right?
Yeah.
Like you see some person in the States that's done really well, you're like, that's cool, but like you
Right.
can't really relate. But it's like, oh, they're from like this town, like I went to school there, like whatever, right?
Yeah.
You know, like it feels more
It becomes
real.
real,
Yeah.
Yeah, authentic. Normal people finding success is
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
like, I don't think any of us feel like we're better than anyone else.
No,
Or
exactly.
like have something special. It's just,
No.
you just try, you see what sticks, and if it does,
And just,
amazing.
like try to find people you can learn from along the way. Like I had a whole bunch of unofficial mentors and stuff along the way.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
actually hired a coach for the first time recently because I realized I'm in a situation where generally when I come across problems or issues in my portfolio, I don't know who to ask because there's not a lot of people who have
You're
the
the
same
guy to
problems.
ask.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a few. Yeah, there's a few people that are like, you know, kind of doing similar stuff that I can ask. But like for the most part, yeah, I need people who, you know, who've
How
like
did you
been here.
find your coach?
Yeah.
And what does
Through-
he have
through
that
a-
made you attracted to him? Based
Yeah.
on you being at this level, but you've obviously seen him as like
Yeah.
a
This was
mentor.
this was through a referral from another podcast host actually.
no way, okay.
Yeah, and they have over 1,000 units in Ontario. Yeah, in
1,000?
Ontario. It's a fund, like they have a fund, and you know, so it's like
How many followers do they have, though? No, just kidding.
yeah, exactly. I don't
Just
think
joking.
it's a huge social media following.
On our
No, they're
Yeah.
killing us. They're killing us. 1,000 units.
Yeah. So like it's like, okay, you've been through this, whatever, but like at the end, like, you know, you hear 1,000 units, but like, you know, it's a fund. They're raising tons of capital,
Right.
growing. Like it's quite a bit different. Like what I'm trying to do is have like a story that people can actually comprehend. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you own these buildings and you own them yourself. Like I kind of get what that
Mhm.
looks like versus I own 1,000 or like we own 1,000 units. What does that even mean? Like how
Yeah.
many
A
people?
lot
how
of
much debt
people,
do you
a
have?
lot of
What's
people
going on?
raise money, right? They
Yeah.
and then they pay them 7%. Like they find a
We have
rich
7
guy,
partners. and-
7%. We'll give you 7% for
There's
5 years, and they'll do it.
Yeah, that, so he said, oh yeah, I own all these, blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, okay, I want to list this for Lease Brook. And then I go, and it's like the corporation. And
Yeah.
it's like, but then there's joint venture partners everywhere. So
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, social media, a lot of people, you have to filter through because a lot of them, I find it's like 50 property bulb.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's not. So the reason why I was
Yeah.
like, Cortez, look at this guy, is because you said,
I
which is
appreciate
important,
it.
Yeah.
no joint ventures. And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
because I've heard many times, I have over 70 properties. I have over 90 doors. I
Yeah.
have over this, but it's never.
What's the deal, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's you almost
Yeah.
like go to the side, right?
Yeah.
Like no joint venture partners. That's
Oh,
huge.
I
Huge.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
So cool.
Good for you.
Thank you.
It's-
I
yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah. The goal is for myself to just have full control and know that I can make all the decisions without having to run it by anybody. But it's also so that people can actually see what's going on. There's a lot more degree of transparency there. And at this point, I have no intentions of bringing partners on or starting a fund or anything like that. I really wanted to just like, at this point, my debts are basically just bank and credit union debt and a
Okay.
little bit of private loans, but not too much.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I want to continue scaling like that. So,
Yeah.
you know, I would rather own 100 units myself than 200 units with a partner, or
Right.
or 1,000 units with 9 partners, or
Yeah.
Right.
or own 20% equity and
Yeah.
5 times the number of. It's like
100%.
what
Yeah.
a mess. There's all these people involved and all this stuff happening,
And
and
different changes in the economy will invoke
Yeah.
different responses from each
Mhm.
yeah.
partner.
There's just, I think mental bandwidth isn't something people take enough into account. Like we look a lot at how much time we spend on things, but we don't talk enough about how much it's on our mind. And I
Yeah.
think that like there's a lot of things that, oh, this only takes me 5 minutes a day. Cool, but like you're probably thinking about it quite a bit. And so I really try to keep an eye on the things that take up a lot of mental bandwidth.
Are you able to shut off?
I struggle with it for sure. I have ADHD, so
Don't.
yeah. So
You're
it's
speaking
actually,
to it.
okay, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, maintaining focus has been a really interesting, you know, like it's actually been one of my, it's turned into one of my strengths, but I think it's because I really identified it as something I need to do. So I've, you know, you can imagine as an investor and as realtors seeing opportunity everywhere, but you need to pick what your opportunities are.
Very
So
true.
it's a lot about saying no, like saying no to so many things,
Yeah.
saying no to a million guests, right? Whatever, like you're like, like,
It
and
did-
identifying like
Totally.
these are the things, you know, so it's a
Mhm.
lot of saying no to maintain focus.
Yeah.
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 Well, we find that in our business a lot. 'Cause, you know,
Yeah.
some people, it's like, oh, your life, you like, but it's like, I work like not 12 hours a day, like
Oh, yeah.
24, because it's
Constant. I
it's
know.
up here,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
So I can only imagine with that many, and especially having self-managed 52 by yourself, like it is
Yeah.
busy up there.
Taking on managers that I trust made a huge difference for me. So now I don't think about tenants at all.
So you delegate a lot.
So yeah, I've been getting better at delegating. So like the order that I look at it is generally try to first eliminate. Like Elon Musk talked about how like engineers tend to optimize things that should just be eliminated. And so I took that and applied it to kind of my real estate and business and like, okay, here's a bunch of things that, yeah, I could outsource or I could whatever, or maybe I should just not do it, right? So first I eliminate, and then anything maybe I can automate, you know, so I don't have to bring people in, and then anything out there, anything after that I'll outsource.
Yeah.
And then that way, ideally, I'm only working on the highest and best use
Yeah.
tasks for myself.
So good.
That's awesome.
I'm not managing tenants anymore. I have a GC managing renovations. You know, I kind of maybe sometimes go to the unit and like make a plan at the beginning, and then otherwise they handle it from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Very good. So then
Very
you're able to have at least a little bit more clarity when things are
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of smooth operating beneath you.
I think that like the coaching business is one that like is just not, it hasn't actually been a good equation mental bandwidth wise, because it takes up way more mental bandwidth than my portfolio does.
How
and
do
it
you
Yeah.
makes-
calculate is the thing though. You wouldn't know that until having done it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like I think it's an experiment. It's been some years that I've been doing it still, and it's been a bit of an experiment still. And I do enjoy it a lot, and like it gives me an excuse to keep an eye on my long-term social media game and stuff as well. Because like, well, I need to be out there talking
Yeah.
about the stuff. So
Yeah.
Is there like a minimum criteria you have, or anybody can come to you and be your student?
Yeah, I need to make like I definitely screen students as well, because I don't want to work with people where I'm going to take away momentum from them. So like if they're like if they don't have enough capital to like take on maybe their first deal and a half type of thing, then like I'm not going to get involved and tell you to borrow a bunch of money and buy your first
Right.
property. Like,
Right.
you need to be in a financially stable position,
Yeah.
you know. So like having a decent amount of capital, willingness to learn, coachability.
Could we join?
Yeah.
I actually wouldn't mind.
Yeah,
I
no,
can
for
learn
sure.
something. Yeah. I'd love
I
to.
usually work with like up like 4 to 6 students at a time.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
I'd be happy to.
No, I enjoyed this conversation. I'd love to. I'd
I
love to dive
appreciate
into
that.
it more. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Me, I know. I need more nerd friends.
Well, I think like it's you know, I've had and countless conversations where I'll talk to someone for an hour, help them make a decision, and it makes them 20 grand.
Mhm.
So, you know, it's pretty easy to get your coaching money, you know, the fee for the coaching,
Yeah.
you know, almost
Has it
immediately.
ever not worked with a student and
For
then
sure.
fallen on you?
Not fallen on me, but it's definitely,
opinion.
if people aren't ready to take action, then like I'm not going to force them to, right? So
Right.
I view it more as mentorship than coaching. Mentorship, people who are there and want to learn and want to take action versus me like go do this and blowing a whistle type of thing. I'm
Makes sense.
like accountability should essentially be built into any student that like they want.
They know what their son
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
So I'm not chasing people. It's like this is what you need to do, and it's like, oh, you're not doing it, like. Well, that's still what you need to do. Gain clarity on that sort of stuff. But yeah.
Awesome. That sounds good. You got any more questions?
Wow, no.
I know this flew by. Yeah. Let's plan to have you back if you don't mind. Maybe we can meet you halfway and we'll have some.
I'd be
happy bad for you. Yeah.
I'd
cool.
be happy to jump on whenever.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, we'll talk more about the mentorship program.
Absolutely.
I'll wrap it up here. But yeah. All right. Thanks so much for watching, guys.
Thank
if
you.
you're on Spotify or Apple Music, please leave us a review. And if you are on Instagram, TikTok, follow us there for some short form stuff. And yeah, we really appreciate you guys. And hopefully we'll have you back on in a few months or so. Yeah, totally. See where you're at. All right. Take care. Thanks guys.